General Hospital will reveal Port Charles has never been a town that rests peacefully beneath the surface. Behind the golden afternoon sun on the docks, the sweet lattes in small cafes, and the polite hallway conversations at General Hospital lie countless secrets waiting to be unearthed, pains long thought dormant, and relationships never truly laid to rest. When Lulu suddenly awakened after years in a coma, it was not merely a medical miracle, it was an alarm bell signaling the beginning of a chain reaction capable of upending the entire order of the town. She opened her eyes not just to reunite with family and children, but to confront everything time and circumstance had forcibly buried, most notably, a love that never truly faded, Dylan. During all the years Lulu lay silent, trapped between life and limbo, Dylan had fled Port Charles like a man escaping his own heart. He carried the weight of pain, the burden of memory, but never the courage to face the brutal reality of a love shackled by machines and fading hope. In the time Lulu lay unconscious, Dylan lived an unnamed life, a shadow in faraway places, where no one knew the haunting love that once burned through his soul. But hearts do not forget. And each night, in dreams he didn't summon, Lulu's eyes returned, silent, frozen in time, yet powerful enough to shatter every attempt at moving on. When word of her awakening reached him, it struck like a storm. Dylan knew then, his life could not move forward until he returned, until he faced the past, until he put a final punctuation, or perhaps, a new beginning, on the story they left behind. Dylan's return was not a quiet reunion. It was an earthquake. No one in town, even those who had long maintained their distance from the love story of old, could stay indifferent when he stepped through the hospital doors, his gaze cutting through the air like a blade. Lulu, just beginning to adapt to a world that had spun forward without her, was now face to face with a living echo of a past she wasn't sure she was ready to reclaim. She saw Dylan as if staring at a displaced piece of her soul, waiting to be defined, a once burning love still flickering, or a scar yet to heal. Dylan was no better. Looking at Lulu was like seeing his own wounded spirit laid bare. Part of him ached to hold her close and whisper that everything would be okay, yet another part recoiled, afraid a single misstep could shatter her all over again. The atmosphere in Port Charles thickened. Each step Dylan took reverberated through the hearts of those who once watched their love unfold. Those who knew that when Lulu and Dylan existed in the same moment, no one was truly safe. His return sparked whispers, suspicions, and jealousy from people who didn't want to see Lulu reclaim any piece of happiness. Some whispered that Dylan came back not just for Lulu, but to unveil a long-held secret, something far deeper than mere love. Some even suspected he held a key that could unravel the power structures dominating Port Charles for years. Lulu began to dream fragmented, chaotic visions, unsure where memory ended and present began. Every time she looked at Dylan, she felt part of herself, once lost, begin to stir. But with that came fear. Was what they had still intact after so much time, or had it become something ghostly, better left behind? Dylan fought an equal battle inside. He couldn't resist her eyes, but he also knew one false move could break her again. And he would never forgive himself if he caused her pain once more. Amid this emotional storm, a devastating secret emerged from Lulu's medical records, evidence that the accident leading to her coma might not have been accidental at all. Dylan, through a private source, began digging, and the deeper he went, the more horrifying the truth became. The incident that stole years of Lulu's life might be tied to people he once trusted. This time, Dylan returned not just as a man rekindling a love, but as a soldier of buried truths, ready to burn down any lie to make sure Lulu would never be lost to the darkness again. Port Charles is about to walk into a new storm, a tidal wave of memory, guilt, and hope. And at its eye, Dylan and Lulu, two souls once pushed to opposite ends of existence, are inching back toward each other, not only through love but through blood and tears, rewriting their story from where it was so cruelly interrupted. But this time, they'll have to face not just their love, but the ghosts of everything that nearly tore them apart. With Sonny Corinthos's health in rapid decline, and whispers swirling around Port Charles that the end may be near for the once indomitable mob boss, the atmosphere has shifted. It's as though the town itself is holding its breath, caught in the quiet before a storm that promises to rewrite the emotional and political landscape. In times like these, when the veil between past and present grows thin, it's not uncommon for ghosts to return, but some ghosts never truly left. Among them is Brenda Barrett, a name that carries with it an intoxicating blend of nostalgia, unfinished love, and dangerous unpredictability. Her return is not simply a footnote in Sonny's final chapter, it threatens to be the headline. Brenda has always had a magnetic pull, not just for Sonny, but for the town itself. She was the wildfire that lit up the shadows of his life, reckless, passionate, and capable of igniting both devotion and destruction in equal measure. Though years have passed, and the currents of time have shifted the foundations of their lives, her name has never ceased to resonate in Sonny's memory. And now, as he faces what might be the last battle of his life, it is her shadow that looms the largest. Her arrival in Port Charles doesn't go unnoticed. It's not just a reunion. It's an emotional earthquake that threatens to rip apart everything Sonny has carefully built since her last departure. Current alliances waver. Old wounds throb. Those closest to Sonny, Carly, Nina, Dante, even Jason, feel the tremor of her return like a distant thunder rumbling across a field of old landmines. Brenda doesn't walk back into Sonny's life quietly, she arrives with the force of destiny, as if summoned by the part of him that still clings to hope, pain, and unfinished love. For Brenda, this is more than nostalgia or a reckless impulse. Her decision to return is calculated, though not without feeling. She's been following the headlines from afar, each new report about Sonny's deteriorating health cutting deeper than the last. But it wasn't just worry that brought her back. It was a sense of inevitability. She knew that if she didn't come now, she might never have the chance to say goodbye, or worse, might live with the guilt of having let him slip away without trying to save him. Beneath the fierce pride and the glamorous defiance that have always defined Brenda lies a well of regret. She left Sonny many times, for many reasons, all of them complicated, all of them layered in emotion and misjudgment. But the truth has always remained the same, she never truly stopped loving him. And now, facing the man she once would have burned the world for, she sees more than a dying man. She sees a wounded soul still capable of redemption. She sees herself, not just as a woman from his past, but as a possible key to his salvation. Sonny, however, is no longer the same man she left. Illness has carved lines into his strength, vulnerability now lives where defiance once ruled. He is exhausted, physically, emotionally, spiritually. The empire he once ruled with absolute certainty now stands on a fragile foundation, and the very idea of Brenda, with all her emotional intensity and volatile history, is both a comfort and a threat. Her presence calls into question every decision he has made since she left, especially those involving his heart. Nina, Sonny's current partner, is thrown into emotional chaos. She has spent years trying to be the one who truly understands him, who offers peace in a world that has never allowed him to rest. But how can she compete with a love that feels like destiny? Brenda doesn't need to fight, her history with Sonny fights for her. Every glance, every memory, every whispered moment between them becomes a silent dagger to Nina's confidence. And Carly, always the survivor, always the fire behind Sonny's empire, finds herself forced to relive an era she believed was long buried. Brenda's return doesn't just threaten the present. It awakens the war between past and future. Even Sonny's children feel the impact. Dante watches his father battle not just disease, but emotional upheaval. Michael remains torn between respect and resentment, knowing Brenda's presence may either soothe or inflame. And Christina, always the most sensitive to emotional undercurrents, feels the tremors of something deeper than illness, a spiritual reckoning that may demand more from Sonny than he can give. As Sonny's condition worsens, the town holds its breath. Brenda's presence by his side becomes both controversial and symbolic. She refuses to let him slip away quietly. Where others speak in hushed tones and prepare for farewells, Brenda rages against the dying of the light. She becomes his advocate, his challenger, his fire. She questions the doctors, demands second opinions, pushes back against complacency. For her, death is not a certainty, it's a battleground. But the question remains, is Brenda here for closure, or for a miracle? Is her return the final verse in a long, tragic ballad, or the first page in a new chapter neither of them saw coming? Each day she spends at his side feels like a test of fate. Will she be his last comfort, the woman who offers peace in the end? Or will she be the one who refuses to let him go, who reignites a fight in him even as his body gives up? Whatever her role, one truth is clear, Brenda Barrett has returned, and nothing in Port Charles will ever be the same again. Her presence is a spark in a field of dry grass, and the flames she ignites will not be easily controlled. In the days to come, whether Sonny lives or dies, whether love is rekindled or extinguished, Brenda's name will be whispered in the hallways, remembered in the silence, and felt in every decision made under the shadow of her return. Although the news of Spencer Cassadine's death sent shockwaves through Port Charles, those who truly understand the chaotic and ever-twisting nature of this town knew better than to accept it at face value. The fact that his body was never found, a classic Port Charles setup, hinted at the inevitable, a resurrection timed to perfection. In a place where no death is final and no ghost remains buried, the return of Spencer is more than just a comeback, it's a storm waiting to consume everything in its path. And now, just as Trina Robinson begins to open her heart to someone new, the past chooses this precise moment to be reborn. Spencer does not return quietly. His reappearance is a seismic event that strikes the deepest chords in the hearts of those who once loved him, hated him, or could never forget him. Trina is the first to feel it. Not through words, but through the instinctive ache of a heart that once broke for a man who never truly left her thoughts, no matter how desperately she tried to bury him. Just as she begins to let herself feel again with Kai Taylor, a gentle soul with warm eyes and promises of stability, the ghost of Spencer crashes back into her life like a cold wind from the past. Kai is not Spencer, and that's exactly what makes things so complicated. Because Kai represents a new beginning, but Spencer is a door that never fully closed. Trina has fought long and hard to find peace. She's learned to smile through the tears, to forgive herself for loving someone as complex as Spencer, and to accept that some love stories exist only to teach us how to survive. But Spencer doesn't return as the reckless boy she once knew. He reappears as a man, one who has been broken by the world, shaped by survival, and now stands before her carrying the weight of unfinished business. He brings with him a storm of unresolved emotions, broken promises, and the haunting question of what could have been had things played out differently. But Spencer's return isn't just about Trina. He carries with him a larger purpose, reclaiming the legacy he believes is rightfully his. The Cassadine dynasty, a symbol of power, sin, and blood-stained secrets, is crumbling. Valentine, who temporarily held the reins, is losing control as trust wanes and mistakes mount. This is Spencer's moment. No longer ruled by emotion, he returns as a true Cassadine, strategic, ambitious, and determined to restore the order he believes has been tainted. His presence sends ripples through the family. Allies of Valentine begin to falter. Secrets long buried in the cold stone walls of Windmere are unearthed. Spencer, once an outsider to his own bloodline, now becomes the epicenter of a war that stretches beyond power, a war for identity, for respect, for redemption. Amid the shadows and scheming, Trina becomes the light that threatens to keep Spencer tethered to his humanity. But that light is also a danger. Because loving Trina means exposing his greatest vulnerability, and in the world of the Cassadines, weakness is the quickest path to destruction. Spencer must choose, keep Trina close and risk everything, or push her away to protect them both from a world where love is a fatal trap. Kai, meanwhile, is not a man to retreat. He senses Spencer's arrival as the storm that could drown not only Trina's newfound peace, but also the love he's carefully nurtured. He knows this isn't just about competing for her heart, it's a battle against a memory too powerful to erase. Kai is the future, but that future cannot move forward if Trina is still anchored to a past left unfinished. Port Charles becomes a stage for a high-stakes drama where three hearts are pulled in different directions. Love, vengeance, legacy, and fate intertwining like a storm surge no one can stop. Spencer, the man who returned from the dead. Trina, the soul divided by two opposing paths. Kai, the witness to a love slowly slipping from his grasp because of a name that refuses to die. And behind them all looms the darkness of the Cassidines, always waiting to swallow whole anyone who dares to reach for the truth. When Spencer declares his intention to reclaim control of the Cassidine legacy, Valentine will not surrender without a fight. With the cunning and calculated moves that have sustained his power all this time, Valentine is sure to retaliate with ruthless precision, digging into Spencer's past, manipulating key figures within the family, and perhaps even threatening Trina if it means weakening Spencer's resolve. The battle between the two Cassidines won't just be a struggle for power. It will be a purge for honor, a collision of generations where the victor will have the right to rewrite the family's future. Meanwhile, Trina will find herself pulled into the center of a vortex where political ambition collides with personal emotion. She is no longer just the woman caught between two men, but a pivotal force capable of shifting the entire Cassidine dynamic. She must decide whether to stand beside Spencer in a treacherous war for power or step back into the safety of Kai's arms, a gentler path, perhaps, but one that cannot satisfy the ache in her heart still tethered to the man who once broke it. Kai, despite embodying the ideal of stability and compassion, will be forced to show his true strength as he is pushed to the edge. Will he fight for Trina to the bitter end, or will he walk away, allowing her to pursue the destiny she shares with Spencer? His choice could very well tip the scales. Not just in the love triangle, but in the broader war that now defines Port Charles. And then, in one final, fateful moment, whether through a failed assassination, a family gathering turned battlefield, or a shocking sacrifice, everything will erupt. All secrets, all buried emotions, all suppressed rivalries will explode into the open. Spencer may indeed seize the Cassidine throne, but the cost might be losing Trina forever. Or perhaps, their love, forged in chaos and tempered in pain, will emerge stronger than ever, undaunted by legacy, undivided by blood. Once again, Port Charles will bear witness to the fall of an old dynasty and the rise of a new era, an era where love, honor, and inheritance intertwine to create an ending both bitter and glorious, but never final. Because in this town, every ending is only the beginning of another storm.